Hey everybody, Shane here, Shoebox Legends. Thanks for stopping by the channel for a vintage baseball card episode today. I'm going to take a look at 3 recent graded pickups, all of the vintage baseball variety, and each one I think a pretty significant and cool card for separate reasons. And before we get to those, I wanted to do a quick shout out to a new channel that I've discovered, RetroCardSpective. Now this is all one word, although I've kind of separated it out to fit on my note card here. I will leave a link below, but a new channel that I just discovered because he left a comment on one of my videos about Vladimir Valentin, letting me know that he actually hit 500 professional home runs in his career. So as I always do, when someone leaves a comment, check to see if this individual creates content, and it turns out he does, and really digging his channel. He's pretty much brand new, just maybe not even a couple dozen videos out yet. And so he hasn't really caught on just because he's new at doing this. So any of us who have a channel, you remember what it was like in those early days, trying to get some people over in your direction and paying attention to what you're doing. So I would really appreciate it if you're up for checking out a new channel, if you would check out RetroCardSpective. Already in the videos I've watched over there, some really interesting content on a collection that he's doing, which he calls, I think, the Global Professional Collection. And it's players who achieved either 500 home runs, 3,000 hits, 3,000 strikeouts, or 300 wins as a pitcher, professionally across not just Major League Baseball, but other leagues as well, like Nippon Professional Baseball, minor leagues, etc. It's a fascinating collection. I've seen some other interesting videos outside of that as well. And I think anyone who digs vintage baseball cards or any of the content you're going to get in today's video, you would definitely enjoy RetroCardSpective. So let's help him feel some of the community love and see if we can get his subscriber count up a little bit. And now we're going to move on to the 3 vintage pickups. And we're going to start with one that I've wanted, honestly, as long as I've been in the hobby. And I don't know why I waited as long as I did. But last year, I did a VR called the One Card Challenge, where I wanted folks to boil down a Major League Baseball season to one card from that year to represent that season and the hobby in that year. And a couple of folks, at least 2 or 3, when they did their video responses, they chose this card for the year 1951, the 51 Topps Yogi Berra. And they made some pretty compelling arguments in those videos about why Berra should signify 1951 for that project. Obviously, the Yankees in the midst of their dynasty of multiple consecutive championships during the 1951 season. And also, the reason I primarily love this card, it's the first Topps set ever. And I know there's, a difference in opinion where some folks say, 52 Topps, they really consider that first because these are more like game cards. I don't even know where I fall in that debate, but regardless, this is the first Topps baseball set that they produced in 1951. And this is card number 1 on the checklist. So I've always viewed this as the first Topps baseball card proper. And boy, did they choose an amazing subject in, double-digit World Series champion and first ballot Hall of Famer Yogi Berra. Just one of the all-time best, both in terms of on the field, but also just his personality and his contributions to the game of baseball long after his playing days were over. An absolute legend. And that's coming from a Red Sox fan. In fact, we're going to see 2 Yankees cards out of today's 3. I'm not your typical New York Yankees hating Red Sox fan here. I really respect the heck out of that franchise. And I'm honored to finally have a copy of this card. It feels really important for my collection, just in the way I collect, just to have card number 1 from the first Topps baseball set. And pretty pleased with this. And the last thing I'll say about it, we'll take a quick look at the back, which is nice and clean as well. I don't know why this one got a 2 for a grade. I was really looking for a lower grade that presents well because it made the card, very affordable. And I had waited long enough to get it as it is. But the last thing I'll say about it, I actually got this on ComC.com. So pretty awesome. Not something, I don't typically target graded cards all that often on ComC, but in this case, really pleased with how that turned out. Let's do the non-Yankees card next for the second card, and this fits my collecting ambition for the year 2024, which has been expanding the representation of former Negro League players in my collection. And I have a great one here. It took me about 6 months of searching and waiting to find a copy of this card that I was pleased with. It's the 1951 Bowman Ray Noble. And he is a player from Cuba who began his professional career in the Negro Leagues, played, I think, 3 or 4 seasons with the New York Cubans, I believe it was, in the Negro Leagues, then transitioned over to the minor leagues, and long story short, finally broke out in Major League Baseball at age 32 with the Giants for the 1951 season, of course, where they made it all the way to the World Series, eventually losing to the Yankees. He was primarily the backup catcher and pinch hitter, bench player, but did get into quite a bit of action. Would last with the Giants all the way through the 1953 season, which would conclude his MLB career. So I hadn't shown the grade yet. This is a PSA 6. I don't really care about the grades. I'm trying to get better about just showing the card first without even revealing the grade, because that's really what matters. But what got me on this is not the grade of the 6, it's the centering. Centering on these early Bowman sets, like as the case, is the case with a lot of vintage baseball sets in general, is just really, really tough. And when I tell you I passed on probably 2 or 3 dozen versions of this card in the first few months of the year before finally settling on this one here when it surfaced. It's just perfect. This is really his lone mainstream baseball card. He is pictured, and I should give a shout out here to my buddy Josh over at Peeps here on YouTube, who showed a great example of this. He is on a Bond bread card, I think it is, from around this same time period. But as far as, the standard Bowman tops of the 1950s, the mainstream licensed cards, this is it for Ray Noble. So just a fantastic image. I mean, I'm a sucker for catcher, poses as it is. And I've been accumulating a lot of 1951 Bowman in the last maybe like 2 to 3 years, even before my current focus. I just love these cards. And this is one of my favorite pieces that I've added to that 1951 Bowman collection in quite some time. And just an episode, an example, I should say, of extreme hobby patience paying off. Really happy I waited it out for that copy. And then the third and final card might be the one I'm most excited about today, because it's an upgrade to one of the most treasured cards in my collection, which is this Roger Maris here. And the reason this card's been up in the background, waiting to be spoken about, this has been my copy of the 61 Roger Maris, going on probably 8 years now. I think I actually looked it up, about 8 years. And I love it. There's really nothing wrong with it. I got this at an extreme discount. I actually went back and looked it up. I bought this on ComC in September of 2016, so it's been 8 years, for $25. Now, it's really off-center, left to right, and even a little bit top to bottom, but it's got a great surface, and it's a card that I've always just thought is so important because of the obvious, 61 home runs in 1961, a record that would last for the American League for 61 years until Aaron Judge broke it with 62 61 years later in 2022. So even though I love that card and I'm more than happy with this version, I'll be keeping it for sure. It's one that I've always wanted to upgrade because, it's an important card. It's one of my favorite vintage cards because I'm a big fan of the home run record. And it's one that I'd want a nicer condition example of in my sort of forever collection. So long story short, another card that I waited a long time, maybe even over a year on this one before this copy surfaced. And I just couldn't be happier. It looked, like exactly what I wanted when I saw it online. And when I got it in hand, it did not disappoint. This has got to be one of the nicer PSA 4 examples of this 61 Maris in existence. Just check out the centering. The corners, they might not be like PSA 9 corners, but they look pretty good. They're not like bunted at all. The image is clean. There's no paper loss or, snow here, no creases, no holes. The back of it is even relatively well-centered. Actually really well-centered and no real blemishes. I don't know. This is one of those mysteries to me. I'm not a professional grader, and I certainly never will be. I don't really want to even speculate that much on why it Got a 4. I have a loop in my desk here that I bought because a couple buddies recommended it to me. Maybe this is probably 2 to 3 years ago now, and I kid you not, it's still in the box, in the shrink wrap in my desk. Never taken it out, and as much as I appreciate the recommendation, it's just not my jam to analyze my cards that closely. If they look like this to me with the naked eye, I don't really go any further than that. And this is like a dream copy for me because it looks like this, but the assigned grade of a 4 kept this, really, really affordable. I don't mind sharing. I paid, I believe it was $110 flat for this card. So in this day and age of the hobby, getting a card of this magnitude that looks this good that I'll never have to upgrade or replace again, unlike this copy, for 110 bucks, I just couldn't pass it up. So yeah, I have my forever 1961 Roger Maris, which I can now display alongside my 62 home run leaders card that pays tribute to that same feat. And just really, really pleased with the way that upgrade kind of takes my home run record collection to another level. So kind of felt like a gap that I always wanted to fill in and sort of improve a little bit. And so that's going to be a wrap. That's my third and final card. 3 incredibly solid additions to my vintage collection today with the 51 Berra, the 51 Ray Noble, and the 61 Roger Maris. Again, huge shout out to RetroCardSpective. Let's show him a little bit of love and support. And we're going to wrap up this video. Really appreciate you stopping by for this one. And as you know, I'll be back very soon with some more sports card content here on the channel. Till then, just keep on enjoying the hobby. Take care.